It's a proud moment for Uzbek fans here. We have two Uzbek players, Nodirbek Yakubboev and Javokhir Sindarov, in the semi-finals of the FIDE World Cup 2025. And Nodirbek opens the game with d4. They are the Uzbek number 2 and 3 players and very, very strong, both about 2700 now. Pawn to d5 by Sindarov. The nice thing for them is that the one who wins this match will reach the finals and get a spot in the candidates, and the one who loses will play for the third spot match. So that person is not out of the candidates. Knight to f3 by Yakubboev and knight f6 by Sindarov. Will Yakubboev go for g3, the Catalan? No, he goes for knight to c3. And now pawn to c6. We have the semi-Slav on the board. Many ways for white to play. e3, bishop g5, but goes for queen d3 line to defend the pawn on c4 and to prepare e4 at some point. Sindarov takes, Nodirbek takes back, queen takes c4. And now he's going towards his b pawn. He pushes it to b5, attacking the queen. The queen can drop back to b3 and d3. It goes back to d3 with the idea of pushing the pawn to e4, bishop to b7. And the speed at which both players are playing show that they are very well prepared. And e4 is on the board. White has a very nice center. The bishop can come to g5. e5 can be played. Bishop e2, short castle. He goes b4. Very direct play by Sindarov. Knight to a4, taking care of the c5 square and the c5 break. Queen a5 played. Very interesting. The idea is not just b3 check, but also bishop a6 in some moments. So have to be very careful. Yakubboev thinks for a bit, plays b3, defending his knight. And now look at this. The knight is attacking here. Can you open up the bishop? Yes, says Sindarov. He goes c5. Now, in order to play a sharp line, you can go knight e5. The idea is to give a check and no piece can block on c6 there. But he goes queen b5 check directly. Maybe not the most ambitious approach, right, from white. Knight e5 would have been much more to play for an advantage. But now, takes, and now it's very important to play bishop c6. Because all other moves lead to difficult positions, actually. And of course, Sindarov is so well prepared. At 130, he makes bishop c6. Bishop takes. And now, knight takes c6 is on the board. So at this point, the e4 pawn is hanging. And so Yakubboev decides to push it forward to e5, attack the knight on f6. And now threatens to win a pawn on c5. Sindarov comes back, knight d7, defending here, but also on the other hand trying to put pressure on the e5 point. We have pawn takes pawn here, d takes c5. And knight takes c5 is taken, so as to be able to take this back with the knight. And knight takes. The position is roundabout even, but still you can see that both sides have something to play for. White has more space. Black can argue that this is a weakness. bd2 very quickly played. You could even put your bishop on b2. But bd2, now the big threat is rook c1. So if you play king e7, rook c1 is game over. So long castle, beautiful move. If rook c1, he wants to go rook d5, defending and attacking. So very interesting play here by Sindarov. And he goes rook c1. And now rook comes to d5. You can play bishop e3. But then takes. If f takes, then king defends. So he plays bishop e3. I mean, the most logical is after bishop e3 to take on c6. So he takes on e3. Now rook c6. You just go king d7, maybe rook c4, but now such positions seem slightly better for black. So he goes fe3. He takes on the doubled pawns for himself. King b7, and with these doubled pawns he's kind of happy here. Short castles for white. And h6 played here to stop the knight from coming to g5, and f7 pawn is a bit soft in these lines, so have to be slightly careful here. He goes rook to c4, and the plan is to double on the c file to attack the c6 knight. Black does play a5 here. And what does Yakubboev do now? Well, he brings his rook to c1. He attacks the knight. The knight can actually take on e5, but then you allow rook c7 check, so you have to be slightly careful. He goes rook c8 and defends the knight on c6. King comes up to f2, and maybe white can slowly start pushing his h and g pawns. So rook comes back to d8. And king to e2 played. Black plays rook to d5. And it seems like both sides cannot make much progress here, but Yakubboev is going for it. He's playing his pawn to h4. Maybe pushing h5 weakens the g5 square slightly, so he goes rook c7. And now we can put our pawn on h5 and create a weakness to attack, which is what Yakubboev is planning to do. Yes, he does. h5 on the board. I feel like white is still slightly more ambitious than black in this position. And Sindarov now plays rook to d7, although Yakubboev has less time on the clock. And now rook to g4. The very nice point is that after knight d4 you can take with the rook. So if rook c1 you have rook d7, and if you have rook d4 you have rook c7 check. It's very cool. f6 played by Sindarov, defending the pawn on g7. E takes f6, g takes f6, and now you want to play rook g6, but then knight d4 would work as c1 is hanging. So maybe rook c4 could be a nice move. He does play it, and Sindarov now goes rook g7. Oh, he finds the best defense there. Rook to g7 played, and maybe he also offered a draw because there is move 30. Yakubboev has 1 minute. He accepts a draw, and what a nice fight by both these players. I must say one thing, super impressed with Sindarov's opening preparation here. He played really well in the opening. He fought really hard, and I think it was a very good game by him. Meanwhile, Yakubboev also tried to press very well after getting an even position, and these two Uzbek players are showing great fighting spirit and are entertaining the viewers, not just back home in Uzbekistan, but all across the world.